Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this virtual meeting of the Falls Township Zoning Hearing Board for August 11th, 2020. We are going to let everybody know, anybody who can hear us who's in the breakout rooms, we have not a full board tonight. We have a 4-member board. You have the right to request that your petition be continued until there is a full board. If it were to come down to a vote and it ties at 2-2, two members voting in favor, 2 against, it would be denied as a default. So you do have the right to request a continuance to the September meeting. So I guess when we open your petition, if you would like to do that, just let us know. It'll be September 8th will be the next meeting. Okay, so we're going to begin with petition number 1. Wayne McGowan, 172 North Turn Lane, Levittown, PA, requesting a dimensional variance to erect a pool which encroaches into the minimum distance between buildings. Okay, Katie, or Kate, you're on mute. If you're going to be, oh, there you are. Okay, Kate is, sorry, I'm having a little problem with the phone here. You're going to be speaking for this petition?
Yes.
Okay, so right now what we're going to do first is have you sworn in. So the next voice you hear will be our court reporter taking care of that, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Are both of you going to testify or just you, Kate?
Just me.
Okay. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay.
Thank you, Kate. You did hear our explanation that we don't have a full board, Kate?
I did.
Okay, you wish to continue?
Yes.
Or you wish to move forward tonight with your, I didn't mean continue.
Yes.
Cool. Okay. So what's going to happen right now is our solicitor is going to mark a bunch of exhibits for your petition. After that's done, I'm going to turn it over to you. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, Keith.
Mr. Chairman, we'll mark the application for zoning ordinance appeal as ZHB1, along with the accompanying statement from the homeowners. 2 will be the permit denial letter from Falls Township dated May 28, 2020. 3 is an impervious calculation sheet. 4 will be 2 pages containing 4 colored photographs, one of which shows that the property was posted for tonight's meeting. 5 will be the applicant and neighbor notification letter as required. 6 will be proof of publication in the Bucks County Courier Times, showing that this matter was published July 28th and then again August 4th, 2020. 7 will be the applicant's request for zoning hearing board to be conducted via authorized telecommunications device. 8 will be a site plan. And I believe that is all of the board exhibits. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm satisfied the appropriate notices have been satisfied and this matter can proceed. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Billymeyer. Kate, it's all yours now. What's going on with the pool?
Well, we don't have enough room in the backyard apparently because the electrical lines run in the back line of like along the fence line. So in order to be the 10 feet away from the fence line, we are too close to our house. So we're just asking for the variance so that way we're able to still put the pool in, but be in line with the regulations as far as electrical lines, but we would be a little bit under the building structure regulations.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Kate. I am going to now open it up for some questions from our panel. Okay, our board members. All right, Scott.
I have nothing at this time, Dan.
Thank you, Doug.
Yeah, I see exactly what you're trying to do. I don't have anything at this time either.
Okay, Bill.
I have none.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't have any questions either. I see, I believe it's 10 feet minimum distance from the pool. You're at 8. Staying away from the power lines. Very nice plan. Thank you. Is there any public comment questions for this petition? Anybody in the room that wants to talk to this petition? No?
No, we have no public comment for this agenda.
Thank you. Yep. And Diane, I believe we received letters from some of these. I don't think we received a letter from this one, right? Okay. I'm not sure if Diane's online or not. All right. What's
Sorry,
going
I
on?
couldn't find my unmute button. Sorry, fellas.
Nothing.
Yeah, we got no touch letters in opposition. Mhm.
Okay, great. Thank you. Would someone like to make a motion for this petition?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Scott.
I move that the application of Wayne McOwen requesting a dimensional variance from section 209-46E of the Falls Township zoning ordinance be granted to erect a pool in which encroaches into the minimum distance between buildings at the property located at 172 North Turn Lane, Levittown, Pennsylvania, 19054, as depicted in the plans and in accordance with the testimony presented to the zoning hearing board.
Great, thank you. We have a second. Thanks, Bill. Scott, pull the board.
Myself, yes. Bill,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
and Dan.
Yes. Okay, Kate, yeah, the petition's passed. You'll receive a letter from the solicitor's office regarding next steps, okay?
Okay, great. Thank you very
Great,
much.
thanks. Yep, have a good night. Thank you.
You too.
Before we start the next, can I ask Matt Takita a question, or Diane? Are the Zoom instructions posted at the township building?
They're posted on the website.
Okay.
They're posted on the website. Rose posts them.
Okay. So if somebody came to the township building, there's nothing there that's posted that everything's being conducted by Zoom. Do you know?
No.
No.
Okay.
Is that a problem?
No, but I think, I just thought about it because we just started doing it somewhere else. It's probably a good idea that we start that.
Okay.
Just posting that, in the event that there is a Zoom meeting, here's how you can get information about it. We could just direct them to the website, just going forward.
But now, when the neighbor notification letters go out, the Zoom instructions are on that though, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we can post something in the window too. That's easy enough.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Okay, sounds good. Ready for the next one?
Sure.
Okay, is Mr. Patel in the room? Oh, hey. Okay, petition number 2, Nishu Kumar Patel, 12 Ellerdale Road, Fallsington, PA, requesting a dimensional variance to erect a fence in the secondary front yard. Mr. Patel, we are going to have you sworn in by our court reporter. The next voice you hear will be hers.
Mr. Patel, do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Okay, great. All right, Mr. Patel, next is going to happen is our solicitor is going to mark exhibits for your petition, okay? And then after that, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you.
Okay, Keith, you're up.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, we'll mark the application for zoning ordinance appeal as ZHB 1. 2 will be the permit denial letter from Falls Township dated July 1st, 2020. 3 is a proposed plan for the variance. 4 is a hardship letter from the applicant. 5 will be 2 pages containing 4 colored photographs. Bear with me 1 second, I'm sorry. Yeah, Exhibit 5 will be 2 pages containing 4 colored photographs. 6 will be the applicant and neighbor notification letter that's required to go out. 7 will be proof of publication in the Bucks County Courier-Times, showing this matter was published July 28th and then again August 4th, 2020. 8 will be the applicant's request for zoning hearing board to be conducted by telecommunication device. If I can inquire of either Mr. Takita or Mr. Neubauer, I am missing from the packet proof that the residence was posted as required. Do we have a picture of that? Or can one of you verify that the home was posted?
Keith, I did post the property.
Okay.
I told her to put it in the window. I don't know if she understood me, but I waited for like 10 minutes and she never put it in the window. But I spoke to, I believe, the husband and told him to keep it in, put it in the window.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Patel, you were given like a blue plaque card to be
Yes,
posted.
I do have it right here. I'm sorry. She may have forgotten. Is that the?
Yeah, so that has to be posted. The property has to be posted with that placard in order for service to be complete. Without that being done, your application can't go forward.
Okay. Well, my
Okay.
apologies because I guess there was some type of miscommunication with my mom. I wasn't actually at home. I was at work. So I had requested my mom, maybe she misunderstood it and she did not post it. So my apologies for that.
Okay, so what we can do is we've already marked all your exhibits for this. What you'll have to do is you're going to have to place that in the window, and I'm going to assume that the township's going to come out and they're going to give you a new placard. It's going to look just like the one that you have.
Okay.
You need to post that on one of the front windows.
Okay. I will.
Or on the front door. And what they'll do is they'll give you notice, and we'll do this next month at the September hearing.
Okay.
Okay, so unfortunately, nothing can take place until that is done.
Okay. Very unfortunate to hear, but okay. No problem.
Yes, it is. But it's not something, it's required by law. So there's nothing that we can overlook. It's something that we can't pass by. It's required. I wish it was something different. But again, the property has to be posted.
Okay.
Keith, would it be appropriate for us to make a motion to continue?
Yes.
Okay, so we're looking for a motion to continue Mr. Nishit Kumar Patel's petition for the side yard fence variance to the September 8th meeting. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Scott, poll the board.
Myself, yes. Bill,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
and Dan.
Yes. All right, Mr. Patel. Yeah, just make sure Mr. Neubauer or someone's going to bring you out a new blue placard card. You can just put that in your side window or something so they can see it from the street. Unfortunately, without that picture of it being properly posted, which Mr. Neubauer wasn't able to get, because the misunderstanding, we're unable to legally continue it. So yeah, when he brings it back out, just throw that in the window, okay?
Okay, no problem. Because I thought that, it was something that I had to have with me when during this meeting.
Yeah,
So I didn't know that I had to put it at the window. Otherwise, I would have told her that.
I know.
That's
right?
fine.
A small unfortunate miscalculation, but you'll be okay. So we'll pick it back up in 30 days or so.
No problem. Thank you
Have
very
a good
much.
night. Yep. Thank you. Yep. I think it's too hard to get a all in favor and all of us speak on the same time on Zoom. So I just figured it would be better to poll instead of all in favor. So
I agree.
That worked fine.
yeah. All right. Is number 3 in?
Coming in right now.
Okay. Thank you.
That scared me for a second. All right, so now.
Good evening, Mr. Colucci.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Okay. Yes. Petition number 3, Carl Colucci, 19 Thorny Apple Lane, Levittown, PA, requesting a dimensional variance to construct an addition which encroaches into the side yard setback. Mr. Colucci, we're going to have you sworn in by our court reporter. Next voice you hear will be hers. Okay.
Okay.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Colucci. We're going to have your exhibits marked for your petition, and then we're going to turn it over to you. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Keith,
you're muted. Keith, you're muted.
Keith, you're muted. Yeah.
Sorry, everybody. We'll mark
Sorry,
the
I can't see the whole screen.
we'll mark the application for zoning ordinance appeal as ZHB1 along with the accompanying hardship letter. 2 will be the permit denial letter from Falls Township dated June 23rd. 3 is a impervious calculation sheet. 4 is a plan for the proposed addition. 5 will be 2 pages containing 4 colored photographs, one of which shows that the property was posted for tonight's meeting as required. 6 is the applicant and neighbor notification letters as required.
Yeah, I think they came into.
7 will be the applicant's request to hear his matter by telecommunications device. 8, proof of publication, the Bucks County Courier Times, showing this matter was published July 28th and then again August 4th, 2020. 9 will be a letter from neighbors in regards to this petition, signed by Phil Ivone, 23 Thorny Apple, and then it looks like
Michael Thoman.
Michael Thomas?
Thoman?
Thoman, okay. 17 Thorny Apple Lane. That'll be Exhibit 9. And I believe that is all the board exhibits. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm satisfied the appropriate notice have been satisfied. This matter can proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Billy Meyer. Okay, Mr. Mr. Colucci, your turn. What's going on with the addition?
We have a growing family, and we were actually looking at moving, and we weighed out our options, and we like staying in Falls Township because of the kids and everything, and being close to the schools. And we think financially and just convenience wise, we're better off staying in Falls Township. The reason why we don't want to go up is I've always wanted just a rancher. I feel like it's more economical to heat and cool a single level. When there's going to be a point where my mother has to move in with us. So we're kind of planning this addition ahead for the future for that. And probably kicking out another kid in the future. And we spoke with some contractors, and they said, if you're doing the addition, just do it. Because if we're going to make it our forever home, just ask for what we may need to do that. And the 2 people that signed the letter, the Michael at, I believe, 17 Thorny Apple would be the person most affected by this, because we'd be moving closer towards his house. Other than that, I think that's about it.
Okay, thank you very much for your testimony on that. I am going to now turn it over to my board for some questions they may have about the petition.
Sure.
Okay. So, Scott, sorry.
I'm just curious, are you locked in on the location of that addition being so close to that edge that you couldn't move that to any of the other spots on the home?
Given the layout of the house with the bedrooms being in the back of the house, we don't really see moving back. Plus, I have to be 15 feet from my detached garage. So then that would cause another issue with getting too close to my detached garage. The layout we're trying to continue our hallway from the existing location to an extra bedroom. And then we're trying to make the living room a little bit bigger. So we're just basically expanding the living room side of the house.
Okay.
And dedicated to that.
If you are going to be staying in that location up there, even though the neighbors might feel happy about you being that close, you've got a big spot of land there. Are you going to be directing the water that comes off of that addition to someplace that's not going to be maybe intrusive to the neighbors?
I definitely would. I pay a lot of attention to my landscaping and stuff. And I have downspout. I redirect my downspouts to specific locations so that there isn't water issues. And that water being pushed to that side of the house would definitely be redirected accordingly, as I'm pretty meticulous about my front yard, and that's where all that water diverts. So in the process of making sure my front yard's okay, I would in turn definitely be taking care of their area also.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Doug?
You answered all my questions. I'm good. Thanks, Dan.
Yep. Bill?
I have none.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, it seems like you're stepping the addition back to make it more of a de minimis, asking in the variance.
Yeah.
So,
So now it's just the front corners of the addition instead of bumping the entire. I think it's only a matter of 8 square feet that's over the 10-foot line.
Yep. Thank you. That's it. Is there any public comment questions for this petition?
There's no public comment.
Thank you. We already received some notifications through the township from your neighbor, which were admitted as exhibits. So At this juncture, I'm going to ask if someone would like to make a motion.
I'll make that motion. I move that the application of Carl Colucci requesting a dimensional variance from section 20920F and table 1 of the Falls Township zoning ordinance be granted to construct an addition which encroaches into the side yard setback at the property located at 19 Thorny Apple Lane, Levittown, Pennsylvania 19054, as depicted in the plans and in accordance with the testimony presented to the zoning hearing board.
Someone like to second?
I'll second that.
All right, Scott, poll the board, please.
Myself, yes. Bill,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
and Dan.
Yes. Congratulations, Mr. Colucci. You'll get a letter from our Township Solicitor's Office regarding next steps, okay?
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Yep, have a good night. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good evening.
Hello.
Ms. Bakken, how are you? Okay, so I'm going to have you, well, let me announce the petition and open that up. Petition number 4, Michelle Bakken, 606 Chatham Road, Fairway Hills, PA 19030, requesting dimensional variances to erect a deck which encroaches into the side yard setback and erect a shed which encroaches into the separation distance from the main house. Ms. Bakken, I'm going to have you sworn in by our court reporter right now, so the next voice you hear will be hers.
You swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Bakken. Now our solicitor is going to mark a bunch of exhibits for your petition, and then I'm going to turn it over to you, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just place something on the record too. I know Ms. Bakken. They're our neighbors. I've known her for a long time. I also know her husband. I don't believe I've ever represented them in any kind of capacity, but I just wanted to state on the record that I do know Ms. Bakken and her husband. I don't believe it causes any kind of conflict, but I just wanted at least the record to bear that out. Ms. Bakken, you would have the choice if you wanted to ask me to recuse and I could step aside and have another solicitor step in. That's your choice. But again, I don't vote on the petition. I'm just a solicitor for the zoning hearing board.
Thank you. That won't be necessary.
Okay.
So noted, Keith. So noted that your relationship with the petition.
Thank you. Thank you. So we'll mark the application for zoning ordinance appeal as ZHB1, along with the accompanying statement from Ms. Bakken. 2 will be the permit denial letter from Falls Township dated July 15, 2020. 3 will be a picture titled deck plans at the bottom. 4 will be a separate picture titled shed plans at the bottom. 5 will be the impervious calculation sheet. 6 will be 7 photos submitted by the applicant showing the deck and also the shed. 7 will be 3 pages containing 5 color photographs, one of which shows that the property was posted as required. 8 will be the applicant and neighbor notification letters as required by law. 9 will be proof of publication in the Bucks County Courier Times. And last will be the applicant's request for zoning hearing board that can be conducted by telecommunications device. I believe that is all of the exhibits, and I'm satisfied that all of the appropriate notices have been satisfied. This matter can proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Spillingmeyer. Okay, Ms. Bakken, it's up to you now. What's going on?
So this is a little bit different than the other petitioners where this is essentially an application for a variance that would be applied retroactively. As you can see from the pictures, the deck and the shed are already erected. They're not proposed to be erected. So how I come before you today is I'm actually not the homeowner. My parents lived in the home for 41 years, and I did grow up there. My father passed away in 2008. My mother actually passed away last month. And so I am in the process of selling her home and filing for permits that violated the code. There is a 0 setback from the side yard on the deck, as you can see from the picture. There is a 16-foot setback from the rear property line, and it's required to be 20 feet. And then the shed is a 7-foot distance from the home, and it is supposed to be a 10-foot distance. So the reason why I'm asking for a retroactive variance is because in order to sell the home, I would required to deconstruct those, and I do not have the financial means to do that. And I am here as a petitioner on behalf of my mom and my father who own the home.
Okay. Thank you.
They did pass safety inspections for the proposed buyer, and they are structurally sound and they do not encumber the neighboring properties. But I'm open to questions about it.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you. We're going to do that now. So I'll open up for board questions. Scott?
Just curious, if there's been, how long those things have been there like that, and if there's any problems with the neighbors at this time, and if they pass current inspections with the township, that's all.
So the UNO was not allowed to go through without the permits. So the safety sorry. Okay, thought you said something. So the safety inspection was the private safety inspection of the proposed buyer. The structures have been there in one way or another, probably 20 years. So the shed was originally built over 20 years ago, and then it was deconstructed and rebuilt again on the same pad. And in addition to the deck was built, and then there was reverberations from the 2011 Virginia earthquake that shook up the deck a bit, so it was rebuilt. But again, the size of it has been the same since the 1990s, late 1990s.
If we have permits, I mean, if we have this variance, do we have active permits that'll make sure that they're inspected? Does that work?
Yeah, I believe so. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Matt.
That's all I have.
Thanks, Scott. Bill?
You're muted, Bill.
Looking at these pictures, I see the fence is 0 setback on one side, and you only have 7 feet clearance between the shed and the house. Is that right?
On the other side of the house, correct.
One of my concerns is if there's emergency vehicles or personnel like fire or anything that has to get to the back of the house, is that going to be enough room for, if the fire's on the said side of the house, there's no access at all because the other side's completely blocked off by the deck.
So, I mean, recently there was damage in the back of the house. The back of the house backs up to a green belt, and I know that there was Pico trucks back there and Verizon trucks back there working. I don't know about fire or, emergency vehicles though.
No, that's just concerned, how would they, the deck is just, I think it is way too big for that lot. That's all I have.
Thanks, Bill. Doug?
Is there any way of moving that shed to the rear of the property, or is that anywhere else to give us that extra 3 feet, 4 feet from the house?
It would probably just need to be deconstructed entirely because I don't think I would be able to financially. I mean, so all of this is going to be on me, and I don't have the money to move a shed it's built on stilts because it's a sloping property line.
And it slopes all the way down to the green belt?
Yes, it does. Okay. So probably not, I guess, is the answer to that question. But I'm not a contractor, so I can't really speak out of expertise.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the structures have been there for quite some time. From what your testimony was and the pictures and everything else, and seems there's been no issues with the property since then. Do we have any public comments, questions for this petition?
We have no public comment.
Thank you. Any further board questions before we move, make a motion? No? Would someone like to make a motion?
Make the motion.
Thank you.
I move that the application of Michelle Boken requesting a dimensional variance from section 20920F and table 1 of the Falls Township zoning ordinance be granted to erect a deck which encroaches into the side yard setback and to erect a shed which encroaches into the separation distance from the main house at the property located at 606 Chatham Road, Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, 19030 is depicted in the plans and in accordance with the testimony presented to the zoning hearing board.
I have a question on that motion. They're already erected. So we need a motion to erect it?
Keith, you're muted.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, Bill. What it could read, just for clarity, since it's pre-existing non-conforming, I guess to satisfy township purposes, it can be rephrased as, instead of erecting, to remain. The deck can remain, which encroaches into the side yard.
All right, thank you.
So with that clarification, Scott, if I could, if it makes sense, we can amend the motion and take out the word erect, and we can leave or replace it with to remain.
I agree. Do you need me to state that?
I don't think it's necessary. I think everybody understands that.
Okay. So can we get a second on that, please?
I'll second that, Dan.
Thank you. Scott, hold the board.
Myself, yes. Bill,
No.
Doug,
Yes.
and Dan?
Yes. All right, Ms. Boggett, your petition has been granted. You'll receive a letter from the solicitor's office about your next steps and get your inspections and letters and such. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a good night. Okay, good evening, Jeff. Petition number 5, Jeff LaCaruba, 338 Berkshire Road, Fairless Hills, PA, requesting a dimensional variance to install a patio which is over the maximum allowable impervious coverage. Jeff, we're going to have you sworn in first by our court reporter. Next voice you hear will be hers. Thank you.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, Jeff. Now, our solicitor is going to mark a bunch of petitions for your exhibits for your petition, and then we'll turn it over to you. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if we can mark the application for zoning ordinance appeal ZHB1, along with the accompanying statement from the applicant. 2 will be 3 pages of pictures from Google Maps. 3 will be a permit denial letter from Falls Township dated July 10th, 2020. 4 will be a site plan. 5 will be a proposed plan diagram submitted by the applicant. 6, impervious calculation sheet. 7 will be 4 pages of colored photographs submitted by the applicant. 8 will be 2 pages containing 4 colored photographs, which shows one of which shows the property was posted for tonight's meeting as required. 9 will be the applicant and neighbor notification letters as required. They're dated July 27th. 10 will be the applicant's request for zoning hearing board to be conducted via authorized telecommunications device. 11 will be proof of publication in the Bucks County Courier Times, showing that this matter was published July 28th and then again August 4th, 2020. That is all the board exhibits, Mr. Chairman. I'm satisfied the appropriate notices have been satisfied.
Thank you, Mr. Billy Meyer. Okay, Mr. LaCaruba, what's going on?
Okay, well, what we're looking to do is we submitted a application to the township for a pool and a patio, in-ground pool. So as part of the patio project, we're looking to do is, we have patio there now, and it's kind of chopped up. You can see in the pictures, we got kind of a pad, and we got a little patio bump out and some pavers and some concrete. So we're looking kind of just to get rid of all that and pour one continuous pad or one continuous patio. And to keep it to a minimum, what we're trying to do is just keep the patio between the house and the pool, where the pool is proposed. And we're just doing a 1 foot coping stone around the rest of the pool, I guess around the 3/4 of the other part of the pool. And the reason we want to extend the patio down towards the back of the house completely is that we're looking to add some patio doors, some sliding doors along that face of the house that faces the pool. So you can, we'll be able to walk out the patio doors, onto the pool deck and to the pool. So it kind of ties it all together, trying to keep it as minimal as we could.
Great. Okay, thank you. I am going to open it up for some questions from the board, okay? Doug. I'm sorry, Scott. Keep saying Doug.
Yes, I do have one with the impervious surface, and you're starting off from scratch on the project here. Now's the time to actually try to divert that water to some way underground so that it's not above grade and going to be a problem in the future as we seem to be getting worse and worse rains and having this problem. Are you looking to do something with maybe a dry well or some way to get that water underground?
We talked to an architect as well after we got the denial letter, and the guy that's doing the drawings for us for the patio doors, and he did suggest a dry well. So the township engineer is reviewing it as well as part of the permit process for he will be once if we get approved tonight, he'll be back on that. So any suggestions that they have as well, we're certainly willing to comply with anything to whatever it takes. But definitely we've considered a dry well, if that makes the most sense.
That's what I think. I'd like to see the direction go on that.
Thank you, Scott. Bill.
Yeah, I also agree with Scott. My only concern would be the water runoff. Looking at this, you got houses on both sides of you. I guess we could add to the motion, if there's a motion that should be included in the motion, maybe something to work with the township to ensure the water runoff didn't, take out your neighbors. That's all I have.
Mr. Karuba, would you be amiable if we were to attach to this petition, that water mitigation measures would be taken as part of this process? Would you be okay with that?
Certainly, yeah.
Yeah, okay, I thought so. I'm sorry, Doug. Doug, do you have any questions?
No, not now. Thanks.
Yeah, it's, obviously good practice with going over this coverage and everything else that we start to maybe introduce more of this in. So would be probably in everybody's interest. So, okay. That's the only kind of input. Thanks, Bill and Scott, for bringing that up. Any further questions from the board? Any public comment or questions?
We have no public comment.
Thank you. All right, without further questions from the board, if someone would like to make a motion for this petition, Keith, do you need a moment if you want to add that verbiage or?
Mr. Chairman, if one of the board members wants to make a motion, and I don't know what they're going to make, certainly they can add, and I can help with the language.
Sure. Let's do that and see how it evolves.
Okay.
Scott, would you like to make the motion?
I will make the motion.
Thank you.
I move that the application of Jeff LaCaramba requesting a dimensional variance from section 20920F and table 1 of the Falls Township zoning ordinance be granted to install a patio which is over the maximum allowable impervious coverage at property located at 338 Berkshire Road, Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania 19030, as depicted in the plans and in accordance with the testimony presented to the zoning hearing board, provided that there is stormwater mitigation that meets township approval.
Is that okay, Keith?
Yes, that's appropriate.
Okay, great. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Scott, poll the board, please.
Myself, yes. Bill?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And Dan?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. LaCarruba. Your petition is passed. You'll receive a letter from the township solicitor's office regarding next steps, and I guess you'll be working hand in hand with Mr. Jones on this. So.
Okay, thank you very much.
Excellent. Have a great night. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good evening, William and Devin.
Yeah, hello.
How you guys doing? If you're both going to speak about the petition tonight, we'll have you both sworn in, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
So if you guys are going to,
Start speaking.
I'll speak for both of us.
okay, we're just going to have you sworn in then, Devin, and then if William wants to talk, though, we're going to have to get him sworn in. It's going to stop it. So if you guys both want to talk, both be sworn in.
Excuse me, Dan. This is David. We have a couple of people in for this. So we have Devin, we have Rosemary, and we have Sam. So these may be public comment, but I'm bringing them into the room. They'll remain muted, and then when you take public comment, they're already in the room. Okay?
Okay. Thank you. Okay, our next voice you hear will be our court reporter to swear you in, Devin, okay?
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. And now our solicitor is going to mark some exhibits for your petition. Okay, then I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll mark the application for zoning ordinance appeal as ZHB1, along with the accompanying statement from the homeowners. 2 will be the permit denial letter from Falls Township dated June 25th, 2020. 3 will be a site plan. 4 will be a letter from Sam and Lorraine Hedrick, 131 Winfield Court, in regards to this petition. 5 will be a impervious calculation sheet. 6 will be 2 pages containing 4 colored photographs, one of which shows that the property was posted as required. 7 will be the applicant and neighbor notification letters as required, dated July 27, 2020. 8 will be the applicant's request for zoning hearing board to be conducted by telecommunications device. 9 will be proof of publication in the Bucks County Courier Times, showing that this matter was published July 28th, and then again August 4th, 2020. That is all the board exhibits that I have to mark, and with that, I'm satisfied the appropriate notices have been satisfied, and this matter can proceed.
Okay, thank you. All right, what's going on with the shed?
So William and I closed on this house after a long home search on June 17th. The township was still not conducting the UNO inspections. So at the time, we didn't have any idea that there was a shed and that there wasn't a permit for it. We just wanted to clarify that the shed has been there for several years and it was built by the previous owners. So since then, the shed hasn't posed any safety hazards, doesn't really limit any landscaping or snow removal in the adjacent apartment complex. And as you can see from the letter that our neighbors had written it, they're okay with the shed location. It doesn't, limit any access to wires above or anything like that. It's well maintained, it's structurally sound and intact. And it really would just be a financial hardship for us to have to move it, especially in that we weren't aware that we were going to have to do that until the day before closing. The initial measurements that were provided to you guys when the seller's agent had attempted to seek a permit for the shed, they were actually incorrect. So although we are too close to the rear property line with the shed, the distance between our property and the shed is actually 21 feet and 3 inches. So although we could move it forward 1 foot and 3 inches, it still would be a foot away or a foot too close to the rear property line. So we were just hoping that we could seek a dimensional variance for that extra foot, and we appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. I'm going to open it up for some questions from our board, okay?
Okay.
All right, Scott.
I can see the tight quarters there in the situation that you have, and I've got nothing else at this time.
Thank you. Bill?
I have none.
Doug?
I have nothing either.
Yeah, it sounds like you inherited this, so I have no questions. And now we're going to open it up for our people in the Zoom public comment. Do we have someone we want to load first?
Everybody is in the room, so if there's any public comment right now.
Okay, so if someone could speak up for public comment. We're going to need to get some information from you too, so just don't start speaking to the petition first, okay?
Yeah, I'm here. My name's Rosemary Sakota. I'm the property owner at 127
Hold on, Rosemary.
Winfield Court.
Rosemary, you have to be sworn in. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So the next voice you hear will be our court reporter, and then you're going to need to state your name and address again clearly for Harry after you get sworn in, okay?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Can you state and spell your name also and your address?
Sure. My name's Rosemary Sakota, Rosemary, Sakota, Seco, D as in David A. I'm the property owner at 127 Winfield Court, Fairless Hills, 19030.
Great, thank you. Now you can continue. Sorry about that.
Okay, I just wanted to show my support for Devin and Will. Basically, I have no objections to the placement of the existing shed where it's at. I actually would prefer that stay where it's at because it's closer, it's away from my property line. And if they had to move it to the other side, it would actually encroach on my view out the back. So,
great.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next public comment up, we have the same process as the last time if we could.
Okay, do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, state and spell your name, please, and your address.
My name is Sam Hedrick, 131 Winfield Court, and it's Sam, S-A-M, Hedrick, H-E-D-R-I-C-K.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hedrick. And what would you like to say about this petition?
We're just here in support with them. They moved in. The shed's been there since at least 2013. It hasn't bothered us any. And for that little distance, I have no problem with it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hedrick. Anyone else in here for public comment?
No, we have no more public comment.
Okay, thank you. I think it's appropriate at this point for someone to make a motion. Would someone like to make a motion for this petition?
I'll make the motion. I move that the application of William Sweeney and Devin Stobel requesting dimensional variance from section 209-16F and table 1A of the Falls Township zoning ordinance be granted to erect a shed or relieve remaining a shed which encroaches into the rear yard setback and into the minimum distance building between buildings and the property located at 129 Winfield Court, Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania 19030 as depicted in the plans and in accordance with the testimony presented to the zoning hearing board.
We have a second.
I'll second that.
Okay. Scott, pull the board, please.
Myself, yes. Bill?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And Dan?
Yes. Okay, guys, your petition's been granted to leave the shed exactly where it is. You'll get a letter from our solicitor's office, so everything's all legal, okay?
Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good night. Thanks.
You too. Take care.
Okay. Are we ready with number 7 for Joe O'Donnell?
Number 7 is in. Brian Finney is in, and Joseph is in.
Okay, great. All right, so good evening, Brian. Good evening, Joseph.
Good evening.
We're going to have whoever needs to be sworn in at this time now. Karen will do that, okay?
We'll both be speaking.
You'll
Okay,
both
great.
be speaking? Okay, do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Yes.
Okay.
All right, thanks, guys. We're going to mark the exhibits for the petition, and then we'll turn it over to you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll mark the application for zoning ordinance appeal as ZHB 1. 2 will be a letter from Anderson Engineering in regards to this petition dated June 23rd. 3 will be a permit denial letter from Falls Township dated June 30th, 2020 to Joe O'Donnell. 4 will be 3 pages containing 5 colored photographs, one of which shows that the property was posted for the July meeting. 5 will be a letter to Mr. Binney dated June 30th, 2020, providing notice of tonight's meeting. I'm sorry. Giving instructions in regards to the Zoom, not giving notice of the meeting. 6 will be the applicant's request for zoning hearing board to be conducted via authorized telecommunications device. 7 will be a site plan. 8 will be the earth disturbance plan. 9 will be proof of publication. This matter was originally set for the July meeting, however, was continued on the record, and therefore it was published on June 30th, and then again July 7th, 2020. 10 will be 2 pages containing 4 colored photographs showing that the property was reposted for tonight's meeting as required. As I stated, Mr. Chairman, this matter was continued from the July meeting on the record due to a service issue. Mr. Binney has provided me what I'm going to mark as A1, proof of service, and also the copy of the letter that sent to the property owners. They have now been notified of tonight's meeting. And with that, I'm satisfied the appropriate notice has been satisfied and this matter can proceed.
As Mr. Billingmeyer said, this was open before, but I didn't announce this petition. I'm going to do that now for anybody following along. For Joe O'Donnell, continue from the 7/14 hearing, Old Route 13, Marsville, PA, requesting the following dimensional variance to allow a stone parking and loading yard, off-street parking sections for lighting requirements, curbing, and to allow a stone parking area and yard, okay? For people following along at home. All right, Brian, Joe, what's going on, guys?
Hey, Mr. Chairman, my name is Brian Binney. I'm with Anderson Engineering. With me is Joe O'Donnell. He is the president of Calamar Properties, who is the owner of the property. He is also the president of Premium Lift, which occupies the property immediately to the left. Mr. O'Donnell, I will give Mr. O'Donnell a couple of minutes to explain to you what his business is, and maybe that'll help answer some of your questions beforehand.
Great, thank you.
Joe, if you'd like to just give him a brief explanation of what it is you do there and what you propose to do with this stone yard.
Yes. What we do is we're an equipment repair company, so we repair heavy equipment. So we're trying to use the yard to unload and load heavy equipment, track machines. Because the yard we're in right now is paved and they tear up the black asphalt. So right now we're kind of using a corner of the property we have right now to try to load and unload heavy equipment and park some of these trucks when we're done working on them, but they sink in the asphalt. So we're trying to keep them on a stone lot so they're not tearing up the paved property that we have already.
Okay. Thanks, Joe. So this property is about 3.5 acres, just under 3.5 acres. It's bordered between Bristol Pike and Old Route 13. To the right of it is Atlantic Concrete, and to the rear of it is Trench Tech. If you're familiar with the area, you'll know both of these companies have very large stone parking yards for storage of equipment and materials already. We don't think this would be detrimental to the area. We are proposing to do some major stormwater management with this. Mr. O'Donnell's employees currently work in the building next door. They will continue to work in the building next door. There is 18 parking spaces provided at that location for cars, and there's a large area for truck parking. So we think that this would be basically an accessory use to the existing premium lift operation that is immediately next door.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm going to open it up for some board questions, okay? Scott?
No, I can see what's going on there, and I see on the plans that you do have a significant amount of stormwater that is proposed there for the basins, Brian. So I think it all looks good in my eyes.
Great, thank you. Bill?
No, I also think it looks good. I'm good.
Great. Doug?
No, I have nothing at this time.
Yeah, everything's pretty clearly laid out there. Thank you for that. Do we have any public comment?
We have no public comment.
Thank you. Okay, it probably is appropriate now to entertain a motion on this petition. Someone like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion. I move that the application of Joe O'Donnell requesting dimensional variance from the Falls Township zoning ordinance be granted specifically from 1, Section 209-27H to permit off-street parking, 2, Section 209-40 for lighting requirements, 3, Section 209-42D for curbing, and 4, Section 209-42H 22A to allow a stone parking area and yard at the property located at Old Route 13, Morrisville, Pennsylvania 19067, as depicted in the plans and in accordance with the testimony presented to the zoning hearing board.
We have a second.
I'll second that, Dan.
Poll the board, please.
Myself, yes. Bill,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
and Dan.
Yes. Okay, gentlemen, petition passed. You'll get a letter from the solicitor's office in next steps, okay?
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thanks. Have a good night, guys.
Good night.
All right, let me know when Britton's in.
Everybody is in.
Everybody's here. Okay, great. Petition number 8, Britton Industries, MY Lane, Marsville, PA 19067. They're requesting a use variance for manufacturing and storage of mulch or compost and a dimensional variance for impervious surface ratio of 100%. Okay, anybody who needs to be sworn in at this point, we're going to ask you to be sworn in by our court reporter. So, Karen?
Yeah. Who's being sworn in? All of you?
3 witnesses potentially identified.
Okay. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Just state and spell your names before you testify, please.
Okay, before you guys get to your testimony, we're going to mark some exhibits for the petition through our solicitor, okay?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, we'll mark the application for zoning ordinance appeal as ZHB1, along with the accompanying statement in support. 2 will be 3 pages containing 6 colored photographs, one of which shows the property was posted for tonight's meeting as required. 3 will be the I'm sorry, 3 will be the instructions in regards to the conduction of this meeting via Zoom, dated July 27th. 4 will be the applicant's request for zoning hearing board to be conducted via authorized telecommunications device. 5 will be the zoning plan. Which consists of 3 separate plans, I should state. The first one states zoning plan, second says existing features and demolition plan, and the last states concept grading plan. 6 will be proof of publication in the Bucks County Courier Times, showing this matter was published July 28th and then again August 4th. Mr. McGinnis, you were provided a notice of tonight's meeting. Is that accurate?
Yes.
By way of letter? Okay. Yes. And then lastly, Mr. McGinnis sent me prior to tonight's meeting the certificate of service, which includes a copy of the letter sent to the adjoining or abutting property owners as required. I'll mark that as A1 for applicant 1. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm satisfied the appropriate notices have been satisfied. This matter can proceed. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I think you're muted.
Thank you. Mr. McGinnis.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
Mike McGinnis from Begley Carlin here on behalf of the applicant. Just to orient the board briefly before we get into our testimony, the property is located on 4 East MY Lane. I'm sure the zoning hearing board's familiar with the property. It's highly visible from Route 1. The parcel number is 13-28-75-001. Actually, directly across the street from one is 1 East MY Lane, which is owned and operated by Britton Industries, our client. The property is zoned light industrial. It's approximately 17.34 acres. It's been utilized for a number of years as a junkyard for automobiles. The owner currently is not actually accepting vehicles any longer for the junkyard, but there are still a number of vehicles on the site which are abandoned. Prior to that use, back in the 50s and 60s, the site was owned and operated by the Pennsylvania Railroad Company as a rail yard. My client is presently leasing a portion of the site and has a lease buy agreement with the owner. I would note that Britton Industries has already made what we view as some significant investment and improvements in the site by clearing approximately half of the abandoned automobiles which were situated there. It covered the other half in millings. The long-term goal is to acquire the property and turn operations into something that's functionally similar to Britton's business across the street. One note that I would make before addressing the variances that we're seeking is that we have acquired a site investigation environmental report from Resource Control Consultants. Mr. Belfield, who is here with us, who's with RCC and is one of our witnesses, will testify in greater detail. But that report was provided, it's 718 pages, so I wasn't sure of an electronic delivery mechanism, but it was provided via flash drive to the township. And I would just note that based on the report, the recommendation, due to the pervasiveness of the environmental contaminants, is to cap the entire site, which will assist with on-site contaminants. The environmental conditions certainly were not created by Britton, as the lease just began. We do have two variances which we're seeking tonight. The first is a variance in Table 5, an impervious surface ratio of 100%. Necessary for the reasons that I just mentioned, primarily the environmental constraints, and will be addressed further in testimony. And the second variance is a variance from Section 20927 D1L to permit the parcel to be utilized for manufacturing and storage of mulch or compost. That's presently not permitted as a permitted use in the Y district. I would just note further that we believe that this is a productive use for a challenging parcel, one that has been used in a manner that is, we think, not particularly productive for a number of years. We think it's an improvement upon the present and historical uses. Falls is familiar with Britton Industries, and we look forward to continuing to be a good partner moving forward in the community. We have Dan Carr with us on behalf of Britton. We have Heath Dumack, who's our civil engineer, and Tony Belfield, as I noted, who's here with us from RCC, who can discuss the environmental condition. And with that, if the board indulges me, I would offer Dan Carr as a witness.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
There's a lot of feedback.
Yeah, there is some feedback coming from somebody. If you're not speaking, I just ask you that you just mute so we can try to cut that back. Mr. McGinnis, you mentioned having that flash drive or zip drive delivered to the township. What I'll do is, since it is in the possession of the township, we'll mark that as A2 for applicant 2.
Great, thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. McGinnis, your witness, Mr. Carr.
Thank you. Mr. Carr, can you please state your name for the record?
Yes, my name is Dan Carr.
Okay, and what is your role with Britton Industries?
I am Vice President and General Manager of Britton Industries.
Good. Great. For any board member who might be unfamiliar with Britton Industries, can you just provide a brief summary of what Britton Industries does?
Sure. Britton Industries we operate a recycling center at our Morrisville facility, adjacent to the property discussion tonight. And we take in vegetative waste, soils, and aggregates. 100% of what we take in is recycled into beneficial end-use products such as mulches, finished topsoils, and aggregates. We do service the landscape and construction industries with those products.
Okay, and you're presently leasing the subject property?
That's correct.
Okay.
A portion of it.
A portion of it. And can you summarize for the board briefly what your intended use is for this property and how it contrasts with the prior use?
Our intended use is basically what we're doing on the approved usage across the street with the current recycling center. We're a growing company and we need the additional acreage for additional demand for our products. What we are proposing to do at 4 East NY Lane is the same functions that we do across the street at 1 East NY Lane with the recycling and manufacturing of the same products.
Okay. And what have you done thus far, if anything, to help clean up the property?
As stated prior, we have cleared about half the acreage on that property of the junk cars and put down millings to level it, basically cleaned it up.
Okay. And it's your understanding that manufacturing and storage of mulch and compost is not a permitted use for this property, which is what necessitated this application. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And without getting into the technical considerations too much, you are aware that there are significant environmental concerns on the site based upon the prior uses. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And these environmental concerns and contaminants were not created by Britain Industries?
No, they're from prior usage.
Okay. And Mr. Bellfield's here to testify, but these concerns are what created the need for RCC's investigation and subsequent environmental site report?
That is correct.
Okay. And you're aware that the recommendation in that report is to cap the whole site. Is that right?
Yes.
And that recommendation is why we have applied for the 100% impervious surface variance. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And that with the other variance, which is necessary based upon your business operations, would make it so it's not possible to operate at the site without these two variances. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. And you've already testified as to how this is going to be similar to your use across the street, but I assume you believe that this business is in keeping with the surrounding area and is similar to those businesses?
Yes. Our neighbors are a New Jersey Transit maintenance yard. Hale Trailer has a storage yard for trailers. It's all industrial, everything around us.
Okay. Is there any reason that you're aware of as to why this use would be detrimental to the surrounding area or community?
I don't believe so. We've never had any issues with the current use across the street with what we're doing. I don't feel that it would be detrimental to anybody in the area.
Okay. I have nothing further from Mr. Carr. I don't know whether the board's preference would be to wait until all the testimony is provided and then inquire as to the witnesses, or take this one by one.
I think we probably want to hold board questions until we have, I think more things will be revealed through testimony that'll help everybody. So
very good.
If the rest of the board's okay with that, we'll hold our questions to the end and we can recall witnesses as we need.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would call Heath Dumack as a witness then, please.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Dumack.
Evening, Heath. Can you please state your name and where you're employed for the record?
Certainly. My name is Heath Dumack. I'm the president and owner of Dumack Engineering.
Okay, and what licenses do you hold?
I'm a licensed professional engineer and surveyor in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and I'm also a professional engineer in approximately 44 other states.
Okay. I'm happy to go through Mr. Dumack's CV if that's necessary. My understanding, he's testified in front of this board numerous times.
This board has recognized Mr. Dumack as an expert before, so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Dumack, are you familiar with the subject property?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what have you briefly reviewed and prepared with respect to this project?
We had originally done an existing features plan, and then we have developed the zoning plans in accordance with recommendations from Mr. Belfield and the environmental firm RCC.
Okay, and can you briefly summarize the variances we're seeking tonight and why you believe they're necessary?
Certainly. There are two variances we're seeking. The first is for 100% impervious surface, and the second is to allow the manufacturing of mulch on the site. The impervious surface variance specifically is due to the discovery of heavy metals on the site, typically due to the junk cars over the years have leached chemicals and materials into the soil. For that real description, I think Mr. Belfield is the resident expert here. I take my cues off of him. However, the recommendations he had in his report were that in order to keep the pollutants or contaminants from doing any negative impact downstream, that the entire site should be capped with an impermeable layer to guarantee that rainwater and infiltration will not move these materials off the site. The mulch variants, our client manufactures mulch products across the street, and it's the intent to utilize this site for that purpose as well.
Okay. So your understanding that capping the site would be an industry standard in essence for this project?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that being engineered into this plan?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And can you just briefly get into how that should assist with protecting the water quality?
Certainly. The water quality itself, what we're proposing is a hard cap forebay and then a detention basin, which would be timed release with no permitted infiltration. Again, utilizing the hard cap or 100% impervious surface. Similar to what we constructed across the street, that site allows for infiltration. There were no contaminants on the site. It would basically, in essence, be the same or similar system, just in this instance, with 100% impervious surface. We're proposing to not allow any infiltration, which would also maintain whatever contaminants that are under the cap to stay intact at that location and not be allowed to leave.
Okay. And you're agreeable to comply certainly with local, county, and federal requirements with respect to stormwater permitting?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have an opinion as to whether it's possible, given the environmental contaminants and condition, to reasonably utilize this parcel moving forward without this impervious variance?
No, sir, we can't. It's required by both the DEP and soil conservation as part of their efforts as well.
Okay. And do you have an opinion as to whether this use is in keeping with the area, whether it would be detrimental in any manner to the surrounding community?
I do, and it would be a substantial improvement over what's currently on site. Okay. I'm sorry, on the other 7 acres of the site.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dumack. I have nothing further, Mr. Dumack. I would offer Mr. Belfield to provide a summary, in essence, of the site impact report to the board.
Good evening. Basically, we were contracted to.
I'm sorry, can you state your last name because it's not on the.
Sorry, it's Anthony Belfield, Belfield.
Thank you.
I am the Executive Vice President of Resource Control Consultants.
Okay, and Mr. Belfield, right before you get into the report, can you just explain very briefly what Resource Control Consultants is and your role?
We're a multidimensional engineering and environmental consulting firm. We deal with a great deal of environmental remediation and land development projects throughout the region.
Okay, great. And what's your role with RCC?
I'm the Executive Vice President. I'm also a professional geologist licensed in the state of Pennsylvania.
Okay, great. Thank you. And you're familiar with the site report, which I've referenced tonight?
Yes, yes.
Okay, can you please, I'll cede the floor to you to provide a summary of the important findings with respect to that report.
Of course. As part of the site investigation, which is a report required by the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, who provides the guidance and the manners and means of which that report should be constructed, under their site remediation program, we were contracted to evaluate the site, specifically in regards to stormwater and the fact that a permitting process had been entered into, and the Bucks County Conservation District and PADEP, because of the historic uses of the site, had requested the investigation be done so there could be assurances that any environmental impact on the site would not adversely impact water quality, and especially in consideration of the proposed stormwater management to be placed at the site. So we conducted a survey of the site, did visual inspections, and came up with a randomized sampling plan under which we excavated 22 test pits and collected 27 distinct soil samples for analysis for semi-volatile organic compounds, volatile organic compounds, heavy metals, and PCBs, which would be the standard contaminants of concern associated with the historic use, the railroad use, and the junkyard use at the property. On the basis of the results of that sampling, we were able to identify shallow contamination, primarily heavy metals, lead, arsenic, cadmium, that were rather extensive across the site. Based upon that and standard industry practices, we recommended that the site be capped in order to prevent any of the exposure pathways from being complete. So no one could ever physically contact the contaminated material. The contaminated material can never be mobilized by stormwater and erosion and transported, into a critical environment or into any surface water bodies, and that it could all be managed while allowing the use of the property in a safe manner for any of the employees or any of the public that may ever be present on site.
And capping means what, Mr. Belfield?
It's placing inert material over it. In this particular case, because we're dealing with stormwater, we wanted it to be rather impervious material, and that's why the millings was selected. That also allows us to rigidly control flow directions for this material and direct any water from the site into the BMPs that are being proposed.
Okay. And how would that process positively impact the site moving forward?
Well, again, it would protect human health, welfare, and the environment by eliminating any potential for exposure to these heavy metals. The heavy metals could not be transported into the environment, into any sensitive areas or off-site for that matter, by erosion. We would have to worry about infiltration, where these materials could be mobilized and brought down into the groundwater table, impacting groundwater at the site. It prevents an impermeable barrier to protect both human welfare and the environment from any exposure.
Okay. And you believe that this process is appropriate given the current conditions at this site as compared to some other remedial tactic?
Yes, this is the most protective measure that could be taken regarding the site constraints as they currently exist.
Okay. I have nothing further, Mr. Belfield, but certainly I'm sure he's willing to expand upon any other findings in the report that the board would have questions about.
Okay, Mr. McGinnis, I'll open it up for board questions for all of your
Thank you.
For all your people here. Scott, you're muted. Scott,
Yes, I do have a few things. I'm not an expert on this, such as the other gentlemen. They're here in the room with us, but I do have a couple concerns. I understand that capping it would definitely be advantageous to the process for Britain there, having a nice blacktop area to work at. But I'm just concerned that capping it is not always the only way to do that. There are other ways to do that, with like truly removing the soil. But I know that that's going to be a hardship as well. So, I mean, what I'm concerned about is even if you cap it at such a large area, I'm concerned about subterranean water that might be there to potentially leach that out, and concerned if there's going to be any testing in the future with any test wells or around the perimeter to stop that from getting out into the environment at this time. That's it.
Thank you. Anyone care to respond yet?
I mean, I'll respond to that. During the course of our sampling, we were able to vertically delineate the extent of the contamination. So we didn't find any contamination below the 3 to 4 foot depth level, which would be consistent with the operation of the junkyard. I mean, all the oils, greases, metals, any contaminant would have been dumped directly on the surface. And over time, it would have been leached to depth. And that's kind of the point of the cap. By putting the cap on, we prevent that process, because the mechanism that causes the contamination to move to depth is it gets struck down with the rainwater that is infiltrating into the ground and heading towards the aquifer. So effectively, the cap prevents what you were concerned about, impact to groundwater, and eliminates that as potential concern. With that in place, also we would need to, as to your concern about the overall potential in the future, this becomes a cap. This is what they call an engineering control. It's something identified specifically by the PADEP and needs to be maintained as a cap. So it's not, while trucks are going to be driving on and across it, it's a lot more than a parking lot, because parking lots can get potholes and can be left to degrade and things of this nature. This has to be fairly rigidly maintained because it is that cap. So you have that protection working for you. And that's an agreement with the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection. If they accept that as the remedial action, then that's set in stone. So it is protective. It has a long life expectancy, obviously, to it. We did evaluate the possibility of alternate remedial methods, which is standard practice, and to dig up all the soil. The result would have been to effectively increase the likelihood of its mobilization, because then we'd be dealing with disturbed soils. We'd naturally be increasing permeabilities, even if we compacted afterwards. It's that old physicians thing, do no harm. I mean, even the US EPA, when you're doing these kind of environmental impact assessments, the first option you always have to evaluate is do nothing. And a lot of times, quite frankly, that's the best option, because trying to dig it up and deal with it just increases the likelihood of mobilization. The cap also allows for the proposed use, because by encapsulating the material and separating it, if you had a truck driving back and forth over it, you're not going to be creating the dust, and that is one pathway by which the heavy metals could become airborne and inhaled or exposed, through thermal exposure. So it prevents that as well. And even the best, soil cap, it could get rutted, could get moved around, is much easier to disturb than that hard cap. And those were some of the considerations that we took into account when we selected the hard cap as the option, is really being the most protective of health and human welfare, the one that would be subject to a fair degree of maintenance and upkeep, and at the same time be consistent and allow for the proposed operation without, again, creating a jeopardy to the environment.
Thank you, Mr. Belfour.
Just going forward, so this is going to be a system that's going to be overseen by the DEP, and will there be testing in the future with that?
Well, what typically and that's up to the DEP. I mean, we follow their directions. So what typically would happen if we have this approval, we would file a document called an environmental covenant with the PADEP. And it's sort of like a deed notice. And in it are identified as what the problem was, what the solution was, this engineering control, and what ongoing maintenance and upkeep is going to be required to deal with that. And typically, at a minimum, that requires the property owner to certify to the DEP on an annual basis that the cap is still in full force effect and all this. And of course, the DEP, now having this on notice, it goes into their database, and they can routinely come around and inspect and make sure that everything is operating according to, the remedial action that was completed and was approved by the DEP.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mr. Belfour. Bill, questions for the testimony?
I have a couple. How close is this cap going to be to Route 1? I'll just ask a couple questions. You can make it quick. And then how close will the mulch be to Route 1 itself? Your piles. And then my other question is, what kind of fire prevention do you have? Several years ago, I don't know if you're aware that we did have a mulch fire probably about a mile from there. It was a pretty big pile of mulch that caught on fire back by the railroad tracks. So I was curious about your fire prevention, if there's existing plan for that. That's it.
I can answer, I believe, the first two parts of that question, but I think Mr. Carr would be best suited on the fire prevention side. The hard cap is intended to be cover 100% of the property, so it would go right up to the ultimate right-of-way line for both my lane and Lincoln Highway, Superhighway. The mulch, though, would be substantially offset. And the reason for that is the way the bulk of the site works. There's a ridge about 2/3 of the way back off of Lincoln Highway. So the stormwater all sheet flows towards Lincoln Highway and then, or US Route 1, sorry, and then flows towards my lane where there's a culvert to catch it. What we're proposing is both a detention stormwater system and a forebay for contaminants, mulches, raw materials that may try to get into the downstream system. So you're looking roughly, I believe, a minimum of about 100 feet back before you could actually utilize the surface for manufacturing. So you've got a pretty substantial buffer of stormwater management controls between US 1 and whatever ultimately will be done on the site.
Thank you, Mr. Dumack. Mr. Carr, you're muted, but would you care to speak to the fire prevention?
Yeah, I can do that. Sure. We are currently manufacturing mulch and have been for the last 6 years on the adjacent property, 1 East NY Lane. Our storage capacities and pile sizes are governed both by the local fire marshal's office as well as the state DEP with inspections and so forth. We have surveillance cameras that are all over the property, which are monitored not only by the daytime hours, but also at night. We watch very closely with product temperatures. We keep temperature logs. We haven't had problems at any of our facilities in the past with fire, and we've been in business for 30 years. We have a real good handle on maintaining and preventing issues like that from happening.
All right, thank you. And it was just so you know, the reference fire I was talking about wasn't caused by the manufacturer. A car ran off the road and ran it, somehow ended up setting the mulch on fire. That's why I asked. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Doug, any questions?
No, not at this time, Dan. My questions are answered. Thank you.
Yeah, it sounds to me as though this the mitigation process of hard capping is probably going to be better for everybody in this area. So whether it was done by Britain or someone else, at least sounds like it's getting done. So I'm going to open it up for, is there any public comments, questions?
We have no public comment.
Okay. Any further board comments, questions before I turn it back to Mr. McGinnis? And Mr. McGinnis, anything in close or anything else you'd like to add?
No, nothing further, just that we think that this is going to be a productive improvement for this site moving forward, and we're looking forward to the opportunity. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. McGinnis. Okay, at this point, would someone like to make a motion? All right, Scott, you're gonna have to unmute.
All right, Scott's doing it.
Yeah, I'll make the motion. I move that the application of Britain Industries requesting a use variance from section 20927D1I and in dimensional variance section 20927F and table 5 of the Falls Township zoning ordinance be granted to allow for manufacturing and storage of mulch or compost and for impervious surface ratio of 100% at the property located at MY Lane, Morrisville, Pennsylvania, 19067, as depicted in the plans and in accordance with the testimony presented to the zoning hearing board.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Scott, poll the board, please.
Myself, yes. Bill?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And Dan?
Yes. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your help tonight.
Yep. Have a good night.
Just like to confirm that number 9, applicant number 9 is not here.
Yep.
Okay.
Mr. Sarvis wanted to be present in case we had questions. Is he in the room?
We only have number 10. Everyone is applicant for applicant.
Oh, okay, great. So we'll do this then. Petition number 9, Beverly A. Micarea, 24 Falsington Tullytown Road, Levittown, PA, 19054. Appeal. She's requesting an appeal of the zoning officer determination denying issuance of a zoning permit. We have received notice of request for continuance on this matter.
I'll make a motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before we make a motion.
Hold on a second, Keith. Yeah, what do you have for this?
Yeah, so everybody, I received an email today from the applicant's attorney, Todd Savarese, requesting a continuance of this on the record so they can continue to talk to the township about certain matters. The township they were going to appear tonight on behalf of the township in regards to this petition. They had no objection to the continuance request. So what I would like to do is formally open the petition and then, if appropriate, if the board feels it to be appropriate, continue the matter on the record.
Excellent, thank you. Someone can make a motion to continue this matter to the September 8th meeting.
So moved. I'll make a
Do we have a
motion.
second?
Yes.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Scott, poll the board, please.
Myself, yes. Bill?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And Dan?
Yes, okay, we'll see that one next month.
Thank you.
And bringing us to petition number 10. Are we loaded with 10? Okay, I'm going to open this up. Petition number 10, Tabo Properties LP, 2 Towpath Road, also known as Canal Road, Fairless Hills, PA, planned industrial park, requesting the following dimensional variance to construct 2 additions to the existing warehouse to permit a building coverage ratio of 54.30% where 40 is permitted, to permit proposed warehouse building addition to be located within the required 50-foot buffer area and the 20-foot rear yard buffer, to permit expansion of an existing non-conforming condition with the development of additional stormwater management facilities, improvements, and a reconfigured parking area with the front yard buffer and the front yard parking setback for the frontages on Newbold Road and Towpath Road. That's a lot for me to say. Okay, we have people to be sworn in.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so our court reporter is going to swear in. You'll just have to state your name, spell your name, after when you go to testify, right, Karen?
Yes.
You're good? Okay.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. I do.
Okay.
Okay, great. Now we're going to mark some petitions, or some exhibits for the petition.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Ms. McGowan. We're going to mark the application for zoning ordinance appeal as ZHB 1, along with the accompanying statement signed by Ms. McGowan, attorney for the applicant. 2 will be a zoning exhibit plan. 3 will be a features plan for the subject property. 4 will be 4 pages containing 5 colored photographs, one of which shows that the property was posted as required for tonight's meeting. 5 will be the applicant notice in regards to tonight's meeting being conducted by Zoom. 6 will be the applicant's request for zoning hearing board to be conducted via telecommunications device. 7 will be proof of publication in the Bucks County Courier Times, showing that this matter was that it was published July 28th and then again August 4th, 2020. I have one moment, Mr. Chairman. Ms. McGowan, do you have certification of service and also a letter that was sent to the adjoining or abutting property owners?
Mr. Biggenmeyer, I do. I have, and I guess due to the constraints of technology, I can't hand this up to the board.
Sure.
An affidavit of service that I signed certifying the list of property owners who were served via certified mail by letter dated July 23rd, 2020.
Okay, and if I can ask you, the letter that was sent to them, it provided them notice of tonight's meeting, the time, date, and also that it was being conducted via Zoom, and that they contact the township for the Zoom instructions.
That is correct, and I will provide you with a full copy of that affidavit and letters subsequent to the hearing.
Okay, great. Now the certification of service, do you have pre-marked exhibits?
I do not.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll mark A1, the certification of service, and I'll mark A2, a copy of the letter that you sent to the adjoining or abutting property owners.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great. And Mr. Chairman, I'm satisfied the appropriate notice has been satisfied and this matter can proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Bridlingmeyer. Ms. McGowan.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Kelly McGowan representing the applicant this evening, Tavo Properties, who is the legal property owner of 2 Towpath Road. Property is, as you mentioned, located in the Planned Industrial Park Zoning District. It is a developed property, and the dimensional relief that is requested this evening is to facilitate a 2-phased expansion of the existing manufacturing and warehouse facility. To confirm, before we get started, the request for relief, there are 2 sections of the zoning ordinance that are at issue here. Again, the property is located in the Planned Industrial Park District, section 20928F, with reference to your table 5, provides the dimensional regulations that are applicable in the PIP. What you have this evening are variances that are requested both from the rear yard provision of that table, which is a 20-foot rear yard requirement. You also have a variance that is requested from the provisions applicable to the front yard, which is a 50-foot requirement. This property does have 2 front yards with frontage on both Newbold Road as well as on Canal/Towpath Road. There are multiple nonconformities present on this property. We are expanding the nonconformities in the location of the front yard. However, we are still requesting a variance in order to allow those improvements, and that is because of the nature and the extent of that expansion. And we'll take you through that this evening. Otherwise, we have also confirmed before this hearing that there are no buffers applicable to this property. So we are not requesting relief from any buffer requirements. The final dimensional variance is requested to permit an increase in building coverage, and that will be up to just under 55%, where 40% is permitted. I'd like to ask Dave Taylor, one of the principals of the property owner, to provide his name and business address for the board.
Hi, David Taylor. Property address is 2 Canal Road, Fairless Hills, 19030.
And David, what is your position with Tavo?
Well, ownership as well as vice president of sales and leadership for the business.
Okay, so you oversee operations and also strategic planning for the company?
Correct.
Okay, and so how long has Tavo owned this property in Falls Township?
We've been on this almost 24 years, 1996 in August.
Okay, and is this your only location?
It is.
Okay, and intent this evening is to request relief in order to facilitate an expansion, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and that will keep you in Falls Township and provide viability for your existing property, your existing space?
Yes.
Okay, so if you could briefly describe then for the board what it is that Tavo does, the nature of your operations on the property.
So we manufacture folding cartons or paperboard packaging, such as Dunkin' Donuts dozen donut box, things like that. We manufacture for the quick serve restaurant industry and food service industries.
Okay. And you mentioned that you've been on the property for 24 years. Has the scope of your use changed within that 24-year period in terms of what you do out there?
Same business, just growing.
Okay. And you say just growing. Intent and the requirement in order to continue on the property, as I said before, to facilitate your growth, that is the purpose of this expansion?
Precisely.
Okay, so I note on the plan, and the zoning plan has been marked as Exhibit Zoning Hearing Board 2, that there is first and one-story addition proposed on the New Bold Road frontage, just under 8,000 square feet. Can you explain to the Zoning Hearing Board what your intent is for the use of that space?
It's going to be a scrap collection room, which we currently have in the middle of the building. We want to move it to the side of the building so we can open up the internal space of the building for new modern equipment.
Okay. And then the larger addition that is marked as a one-story warehouse addition of just approximately 80,000 square feet. Can you explain the purpose of that addition, please?
That would be additional storage space, inventory.
Okay. And have you determined that it is that you are constrained, or it is not possible to continue to grow your business without that additional storage space?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And in determining the development plans, did you give thought to your requirements and to what would be needed in order to facilitate the development?
Yes.
Okay. And is what is shown, or are the improvements that are shown on Zoning Hearing Board 2 the minimum that are going to provide you with the reasonable continued use of that property?
Correct.
And obviously, operating for 24 years, you're familiar with the neighborhood in which your property is located?
Very much so.
Okay. And is your proposed, your existing use and the proposed expanded development, in your opinion, consistent with the development that has occurred around you and the surrounding neighborhood?
It'll be probably a welcome addition to see the use of the property.
Great. And your use of the property, again, manufacturing warehouse, is permitted in the planned industrial district, correct?
Correct.
And is of the same nature as those properties that are surrounding you?
Very similar to the neighbors, yes.
Okay. And I also noted before we started that we have some additional improvements in the form of additional parking. That's going to be located in the front yard. Do you understand that relief is required from that setback in order to facilitate that parking?
I do.
Okay. And you've examined that parking with your engineer and determined that that is the necessary and appropriate location of that parking?
I believe so.
And all of the parking that you're showing, I note that no relief is requested, so that is compliant with the zoning ordinance for parking. Is it also sufficient in order to enable your use and your expanded use?
Exactly, yes.
Okay. Do you anticipate additional employment with the addition of your space?
That's the plan. We hope so, yes.
Great. I have no further questions for Mr. Taylor at this time.
Okay, thank you. We're going to probably ask the board the same as the last petition, that we'll hold our questions for your clients until the end, okay?
Great, sounds good.
Awesome, thank you.
Daniel Humes, can you please provide your name, by whom you are employed, and your address for the record?
Sure, my name is Daniel Humes, Humes. I work for Van Cleef Engineering Associates in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. The address is 501 North Main Street. Again, Doylestown, PA. I'm a professional engineer, licensed in the state of Pennsylvania, graduated from Penn State University in 2006. I've been doing site and land development works ever since, locally in Montgomery, Bucks, Philadelphia, for the past 14 years or so. And again, I have been doing site land development. I'm in charge of the construction documentation for the site improvements of various projects, ranging from everything from residential through in this case, industrial or commercial, as well as things like airports and railways and other associated developments.
Dan, thank you. Have you previously provided testimony to other zoning hearing boards in Bucks County?
Yes, most recently, probably Doylestown Borough and East Rock Hill Township.
Okay. And were you accepted by those zoning hearing boards based upon your qualifications as an expert in civil engineering?
I was.
Mr. Chairman, I would ask the zoning hearing board accept Mr. Humes as an expert in civil engineering.
So accepted.
Thank you very much. Dan, your firm prepared the plans that are the subject of this application, correct?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And you were specifically retained by the applicant in order to develop plans that would facilitate their expansion, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And in doing so, did you also look into different ways and different plan designs in order to facilitate the improvements?
Yes, we did look at various scenarios of building additions, and this is the one that we determined was the most feasible.
Okay. And are you familiar with the subject property? Did you visit the property?
I am. Yes, I did.
Okay. Can you briefly describe then for the board, just to give them an idea of the existing development, the existing conditions of the property at this time?
Sure. As shown on Exhibit 3, the existing features plan, you'll see that the parcel is primarily occupied by the main building, approximately 169,000 square feet. There's an existing parking lot off of both Canal Road for primarily public visitors, and another parking lot off of Newbold Road, primarily for the employees, as well as another entrance primarily for the trucks, WB, I believe 67s that enter, turn around and back up to the bay doors along Newbold Road. Adjacent to the building, just to the north, is a large concrete pad that has a currently kind of outdoor storage with pallets that come and go as the paper products are moved through the building. The property is primarily surrounded by industrial or manufacturing facilities to basically every side of the property, as well as there is a railroad spur on the north side, which we refer to as the side yard of the property. That rail spur ties directly into the building. There are bay doors along the rear, along that side of the property. That again, paper products are basically moved, to and from the facility by rail car and trucks.
And Dan, when you say the side of the property that you refer to as the side yard, given that there are 2 road frontages and 2 front yards, you had to choose your side yard and rear yard, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. But pursuant to Table 5 in the zoning ordinance, you understand that both the side yard and the rear yard have a 20-foot setback, correct?
That is correct.
Right. So the request for relief from the rear yard variance is no greater than would be required if that were to be chosen as the side yard.
Correct.
Okay. So if, and based upon what David just mentioned with each of the additions, can you just walk the zoning hearing board then through what you are proposing, what the applicant is proposing in terms of the improvements on the site?
Sure. Again, the architecturals aren't really finalized at the moment. So what we're proposing, what we're showing is the 1-story addition along Newbold Road, primarily again to relocate that internal area for storage purposes. We also have it included some additional loading dock bay doors in the event that we relocate the bay doors or expand the bay doors into that area. We've accounted for that, and it shows, or it allows for trucks again to pull into the lot, back up to these doors and exit the lot as they currently do today. No additional impacts in that aspect. So that's the 1-story addition out front. It's 7,619 square feet. In doing so, that would basically relocate some of the existing parking in the employee lot along that side. And what we've proposed here is to expand the parking stalls to, I believe it's 10 foot by 20 feet, as we currently have shown, so that it just kind of maximizes the parking lot to make it more efficient. In addition to that, that's phase 1. In addition to that, we have an expanded fence line that would wrap the existing employee parking lot that is being expanded. And we would have a conceptual stormwater management locations that we've identified there underneath of the employee lot and out towards the intersection of Canal and Newbold Roads, which we've had infiltration testing performed on the site, and it was witnessed by the township already. So we are in the process of trying to understand how the stormwater would work, and we've conceptually again designed that to a level that we feel comfortable, showing on this plan that we believe those are the areas that we will finalize that stormwater management systems. In phase 2, the expansion goes further into the warehouse addition by that 80,000 square feet or so. And what we have proposed is 2 egress doors along what I refer to as the rear yard. Those egress doors are basically a continuation of where the existing egress doors are for that side of the building. And as this is a warehouse, it really just kind of makes sense to continue that in generally the same area. Again, the architecturals aren't finalized, but we believe that these fire egress locations are warranted and needed. You'll see that the finished floor is approximately 45 elevation, and the existing grade is, I'm going to ballpark about 4 feet below that. So that's why we have the proposed staircase there for those locations as well. In doing so, it will necessitate additional roof leaders to connect into those stormwater management systems and to convey that runoff. Additionally, we have a proposed fire water loop for the facility that it currently exists underneath of, or it currently exists where we're proposing the building addition. So we would propose to relocate that outside of the building for future purposes, for future access and maintenance purposes. And you can see that again on the zoning hearing board exhibit plan, exhibit 2.
And so, Dan, to be specific with respect to the request for relief, starting first with the building coverage, you noted that some of the addition is going to be over existing impervious, will be over existing parking. Is the entirety of the new building considered within your calculation of that building coverage? Which is to say all existing building areas with the addition of the 1-story warehouse addition as well as that front smaller addition.
Correct. All building coverage is calculated, is included in that calculation.
And are there any other areas of building coverage that would enter into those calculations other than what we've just mentioned?
Yes, underneath the building coverage calculations, there's an asterisk. You'll see it on the exhibit. It states that building coverage includes areas occupied by buildings, utility structures, fixed equipment not under cover, storage tank, sheds, and accessory structures, which we've included the LPG propane tanks out front, the maintenance buildings that are associated with that facility, and other accessory structures throughout the property.
Okay, and those accessory structures are required in order to facilitate the continuation of the use?
Yes.
With respect to the rear yard variance, you noted the proposed stairs for egress only, the fire stairs. The building is otherwise compliant with the 20-foot rear buffer, correct?
That is correct. We have set it at 20.1 feet at the moment.
Okay. So that request for relief is in order to facilitate those safety measures, correct?
Correct.
With respect to the front yard, we discussed existing improvements located within the front yard. But I'd like to be very specific for the zoning hearing board to have an understanding of what new improvements will be proposed both along Newbold Road as well as up on Canal. You mentioned conceptual stormwater management areas. You are proposing stormwater management within the front yard, correct?
That is correct.
And what will those stormwater management facilities consist of?
Most likely what we're proposing at the moment is an underground pipe and stone system. Again, we had infiltration testing performed. We know that infiltration is a practical and feasible solution here for stormwater. We believe that we'll have to incorporate some engineered soils to make that work. But again, what we're proposing would be a below grade system that you wouldn't see from the street, but again, we have inlets that would that would ultimately capture that stormwater and take it to that below grade system. So those inlets and the subsurface system itself would be within that front yard.
But is it fair to say would have minimal intrusion into the front yard, considering they are subsurface and would have limited above surface facilities?
Yes, that is correct.
We're also showing proposed fencing that will also be located in the front yard, correct?
That is correct. So we've extended the employee parking fence line along Newbold Road where it currently exists today. We've extended that down towards Canal Road to encompass the employee parking lot, and then into the site along Canal Road, and then again back towards the existing parking lot where the fence line exists today. And that again is really just to encompass the existing employee parking lot. As you can see on the exhibit, these are not in any way affecting the clear sight triangles for the roadway intersections. They're not intruding on the existing access points for the site. So we don't envision any issues with the fence line, being where we're proposing it, other than by code, fences in a front yard are required for the variance.
Okay. And then finally, the parking that we are showing to be expanded within the front yard area. You mentioned that was designed to promote efficiency. Does that also take into consideration the safety of the employees in terms of proximity to that addition and the existing entrance?
Absolutely. What we've tried to do is maintain the employee parking lot in that employee entrance location, as well as shift it towards Canal Road so that it avoids or moves the employees away from the tractor trailers that are again actively using that other entrance and other location. So from a safety perspective, the employees being relocated more towards Canal Road is certainly a safety measure.
Okay. And we noted that this property is located within the planned industrial park zoning district. Did you have occasion to review the underlying plan for the original development?
I did review the subdivision plan for this and some of the surrounding areas.
Okay, and you understand that the zoning dimensional requirements have changed since the time that plan was developed?
They have. The prior, when this plan was originally created and originally intended to be a planned industrial park, the dimensional requirements, the impervious coverage was at 80%, and that has been reduced to 50%, and the building coverage was previously at 60%, and that again has been reduced to 40% by the latest zoning ordinance. So in terms of does the proposed scenario at the numbers we're proposing, it actually meets the intent of the original ordinance, when this project was originally built and originally subdivided.
And in reviewing the needs of the client and also the various different plans that you came up with, did you determine that it would be possible at all to comply with the current ratios and construct the additions as necessary for the use in compliance with the current ordinances?
What we're proposing is basically the minimum that's necessary to comply.
And you noted that the stormwater management areas are concept. If the board is inclined to grant the relief that we're requesting this evening, that relief will also be dependent upon certain revisions that may be possible or may happen after the township engineers review during the land development process. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. But you anticipate that based upon the evidence and the investigation that you've done, that this is a fairly accurate representation of what we will find in land development?
Yes.
You're also familiar with the neighborhood. Is it your expert opinion that your proposed plan is consistent with the neighboring industrial properties?
Yes.
I don't have anything further.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Count.
I'm sorry. I just want to make sure because I don't recall it happening. Were the witnesses sworn in?
Yes, they were.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Gowdy, you have any further witnesses or?
I have nothing further.
Okay, great. I am going to open it up now for questions from the board. Whoever feels that they're adequate enough to answer this question from whoever it is, then step up. Scott.
You're muted, Scott.
Yeah, I think everyone's been pretty thorough on this. The only thing I am concerned about is following through with the conceptual stormwater management system to see where that goes and working with the engineers on that to make sure that it becomes a reality. That's the only thing I have as a concern.
Thanks, Scott. Bill?
First, I want to apologize for my son being in the background if you noticed him. That was uncalled for. I understand that. No, I have no questions. This project seems like it's well planned.
Thank you. Doug?
I have nothing at this time. Dan, thank you.
Yep, I have no questions. Thank you for all your testimony. Really shed light on everything. Okay, any public comments?
No public comment.
Thank you. Okay. Ms. McGowan, everything's good on your end? We can take this to...
Yeah, I appreciate it. The only thing I would clarify again, as I did at the start, is just to confirm that the requested relief is from both section 209-28F as well as section 209-41. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry to interrupt. Ms. McGowan, you said that you were there was some of the relief that might not be necessary. Just looking at your letter dated July 20th, and you have listed 1 through 3 requested relief for requested relief. Is that still accurate? What you're looking for?
1 through 3 is accurate with the exception that it notes a buffer, and there is, our understanding, no buffer requirement applicable to this property. So it is rear yard setback and front yard setback only.
Okay, and is that's under number
2, which is 209-28F,
okay.
which is rear yard setback.
Okay, so that you do not need, there is no buffer area.
Correct.
You're still looking for the 20 foot rear yard setback.
Correct.
Got it.
Thank you.
Keith, will you need to amend the motion?
Yeah, so Mr. Chairman, we can on the proposed motions, depending on what the board's preference, under number 2, what we'll do is we can remove where it states the required 50-foot buffer area.
Okay.
And we'll just leave in within the 20-foot rear yard setback.
Okay. Would someone like to make that motion with the adjustments asked for?
I'll try to make that motion. Let's go with this. I move that the application of TiVo Properties LP requesting dimensional variance from the Falls Township zoning ordinance be granted to construct 2 additions of the existing warehouse, specifically from 1, section 209-28F, to permit a building coverage ratio of 54.30% where 40% is permitted, and 2, section 209-28F, to permit the proposed warehouse building addition to be located within the 20-foot rear yard, and section 3, 209-41, to permit expansion facilities, improvements, and reconfigured parking area within the front yard buffer and the rear yard parking setback for the frontages on Newbold Road and Towpath Road at the property located at 2 Towpath Road, also known as 2 Canal Road, Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, 19030, as depicted in the plans and in accordance with the testimony presented to the zoning hearing board.
I'll second.
Okay, Scott, poll the board.
Myself, yes. Bill?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And Dan?
Yes. Thank you, Ms. McGowan. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Any other business we need to take care of on here, Keith?
No, I think that's
We're all
it.
good. Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Good night, everyone.